Hey there, welcome. You made it. Now we're at the really fun part. So we're now going to go over how to get into WordPress and how to start building out your site. Now, like I've said before, if you don't know how to do WordPress or you've never really done this before, you're in the right place. So let's get comfortable, let's get settled in, and we're going to learn today how to log in, how to manage all of your settings in your site, and how to set up your pages. So with that being said, let's get started. So I'm just going to take it from the top here. We've already logged in. We're seeing the WordPress dashboard, and we'll start from the top and kind of work our way down. So when you first log in, you'll see the name of your site up here. You'll see the dashboard here. You'll see from the dashboard tab, you'll get, this is kind of like the top level of your site, right? So if there's any updates or pertinent information you need to know about the WordPress backend, it'll be living here. You can click on that and go take a look at that. Next up is posts. So you'll hear me say a lot over these lessons, post versus pages or pages versus posts. It's pretty simple. Posts basically operate as think about it as if you were a blogger, right? So if you're a writer or you're a photographer and you want to showcase things inside of dated posts, that's where that's going to live. Next up is the media library. So this is pretty foundational to operating your site. The media library is really important because that's where all of the visual assets for your site are going to live. So your logo files, your favicons, your hero images, videos, if you're going to host them on your site, GIFs, things like that. Heck, even if you want to have files that people can download, like a PDF guide or something on one of your pages, that'll live there. So we're going to go over that in a later lesson, but that's your media library. Next up, pages. So just like I said, posts are for bloggers. Pages are the pages of your website. So your home page, your about page. There's really endless possibilities with pages on your site, and you can really kind of customize depending on what your brand is, what your business is. That's where you manage all the pages of your website. Next up is appearance. So this one's pretty self-explanatory. This is the look and feel of your site. So this is kind of where we're going to set the tone for colors, for fonts. Let's say you're using a theme, a pre-designed WordPress theme. You can update that. You can swap it out. It's all going to be managed inside of the appearance panel. Then we have plugins, right? So think about plugins as like add-ons to your site to kind of bolster what your site is capable of doing. So if you have an e-commerce site, you'll need plugins to be able to manage payment systems. Maybe you have a social media component to your site. You'll be able to add plugins in there. It'll give you the ability to have users and manage users, very specific media types, things like that. Then we have users, which let's say you have a bakery business and every month you do new photography of all your new baked goods, but you don't have the time to go ahead and put those in there. But you have a designer on your staff or a media person on your staff that can do that. You can assign very specific user types to the back end of your site. So you as an admin can assign your coworker or one of your employees admin access, or maybe they just need read and write access. You can manage that from there, and they'll have their own logins, their own back-end abilities and restrictions. All right. Finally, we have settings. So settings is basically, that's where all of the basic information of your site. So the site title, the subline of your site, your favicon, which is the little icon that shows up on your bookmarks or tabs on your browser. It's a really important thing to have for SEO. So that all can be kind of managed here as well. All right. So let's hop back up here to Media Library. I want to talk about this for a second. So just some top level kind of advice. And again, I'll be covering this in later lessons too. But one really important thing to remember about your media is how your media is displayed, right? So what's really important are file sizes, file dimensions, things like that. So for a hero image or a large image on your site, it's good practice to have it at least about 2,000 pixels wide. 1920 is probably the bare minimum you want to go for width. All other images can probably be around 800 pixels wide. Another thing to consider is file size. Ideally, we like to have those file sizes under about 1 megabyte, just for speed of your site, accessibility, things like that. So something to keep in mind. Also video. You can host video on your website, but when you host a video, it requires a lot more resources. So depending on the size of the video and how much is there, you might be better off just embedding it or sourcing it from somewhere else and embedding the link in your site. Logo files, same thing. You probably want a JPEG or a PNG there. You don't want to use any type of vector files or anything like that. All right. So that's the media library. Let's talk about pages. So I'm going to hop into the pages panel here, and we're going to see right away, whoa, we have a list of all the pages on our website. Now, these operate on a pretty basic procedure, right? You have a draft, which is nothing that's live. It's in a draft mode, meaning nobody can see it, only you can see it and edit it. There's something that's a page is live, meaning it's accessible from the public. Or you can also delete pages or unpublish pages that are currently live. So let's say there's something on a page that isn't accurate and you want to take it down for the time being, you can go ahead and unpublish that page. Oh, we have a question here. What if I don't have images of my own? Are there good places to get images to use for free? Oh, that's a great question. We'll hop back to the media library. So that's a great question. Photography and imagery is one of the more contentious points of building a website, just because a lot of us aren't photographers. We don't have photography on hand that's really good in quality. So I would suggest using a couple of sites. There's one called pexels.com. It sounds like pixels, but it's Pexels, P-E-X-E-L-S.com. They're all open source public domain images. Another good site we use is unsplash.com. So these are really free stock websites that kind of give you a great library of assets to start from. There's also video, I think, on Pexels as well. So I would start there. That's probably a good point to start. But yeah, photography is really important to the function and success of your website. So I would suggest not skimping on quality imagery there. All right. So we'll go back to pages. So yeah, again, we're going to go over the in-depth of how to create pages and manage them. But the basics are you can have drafts where you can have other people come in and edit. Maybe you're waiting on someone to read the content and proof it. That's how the draft function works. Then there's the publishing, and then of course unpublishing. So we'll get more into depth on managing pages in the later lessons, but this is just kind of a top level view now. All right. So let's take a look at the appearance panel. So like I was saying before, when you click on appearance, you'll see themes, right? So we see the active theme that we have now, and there's a little button here that says customize. Then we have other themes that are preloaded. You can also add a new theme. WordPress has tons of free themes that kind of match different focuses of business. So if you're a photographer, maybe you have a consulting business, landscaping business, there should be some type of template out there for you to use, but you can also customize these templates as well and make them a little bit more tailored to your specific business. All right. So plugins, let's take a look at plugins here. So like I was saying before, plugins are kind of those add-on components that help supercharge your website, right? Out of the box, WordPress does a lot of really great things, but as your business grows and as things kind of expand, you're going to want more capability with your website. So one of the things, for instance, is SEO, right? SEO is vital in today's day and age with your website and searchability and accessibility. There are many great plugins for SEO that make it really easy for you to kind of bolster the back end of your website with the important keywords and writing as well to get you better search results and help you get better on Google, a better listing on Google. So there's plugins. Oh, we have another question. Oh my gosh, I am skipping around. I am so sorry, guys. Let's go back to appearance. We have a question here. I don't like the first theme I chose. Am I stuck with it forever? Of course not. No, absolutely not. You can change your theme at any time. But I will say an important caveat is to make sure that you're going to want to make sure to know exactly what you're doing, because going from theme to theme, there is certain logic and data and code that could break certain things. So you're going to want to make sure that you know exactly what you're doing and that the theme that you're going from to the new theme, there's capability for that. We're going to cover that in lesson 3. So that's another great question. I want to go back to comments. If you guys have comments, please drop them. We're going to be answering them as we go, but then after the lesson, we'll try to get to as many of them as possible. I want to make sure that we answer as many questions as we can. All right, so where were we? So appearance, yeah, like I said, just make sure you know what you're doing. Google around, try to figure out, make sure that your themes are capable. But I think in the beginning, starting with a more basic theme is probably going to be the best way to handle it, just because you don't want to over inundate yourself. You want to make sure that your site is clean and accessible. So yeah, I would say start simple and kind of build up from there. All right, now back to plugins. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm bouncing around. This is my first live. We're going to get better as we go, I promise. Okay, so plugins, like I was saying, these are kind of the add-on components to your site that really help bolster the function and ability of your site. So there's SEO plugins. Maybe you have an e-commerce website where you actually do transactions on your website. There are plenty of great plugins for that. WooCommerce is one that comes to mind. But again, it's something that you're going to want to understand and figure out who you're processing payments through, what type of payments you're accepting, things like that. So there's a lot of kind of research that's needed when you're adding plugins to your site, because again, if you have two plugins that are trying to do the same thing, it won't really work. So have a plan, go into it and say, what do I need this plugin to do? And go find the plugin that can do that for you. And yeah, don't install a million plugins. It just over inundates your site. You just need a few. You need just a couple that get the job done. All right. So that kind of covers the top level of plugins here. Now let's go to users. So users, like I was saying before, are the people who have access to your WordPress backend, right? So right now you'll see admin here, which is me, Barry. That's my admin email and my role, right? So each user can have different permissions, meaning some users can just come in and just see things. They shouldn't be allowed to edit everything. Other users will have restricted access. We can change the role up here. So we have subscriber, which is kind of what I was saying, is somebody who's just a subscriber. They're just in the room to check out what's going on. Contributor, limited editing abilities. Maybe you have a blog and you want to bring somebody in as like a guest blogger or a guest writer. You can add them as a contributor, and they'll only be able to access the certain parts of the posts. Author, again, that's a little bit more robust. I think they'll have a little bit more access and capability in editing. And then editor is a full-on editor. They can edit most components of the website. And then an admin, they can do everything. So keep that in mind when you're adding users. And again, we're going to go over this in a different lesson as well, how to add and manage your users more in depth. But a lot of this functionality and stuff, tab to tab, there's going to be a lot of carryover. It's going to be a lot of add new, unpublish, do this. So don't feel like I know this is a lot, but don't feel like you have to retain everything at once, because as we go, I'm going to walk you through everything step by step, and you're going to be a master of your WordPress when we're all done. So that covers users. Let's get into settings now. So settings is a really important part of your site, although it's pretty boring. So you go to settings, and right here you'll see, okay, site title rather, my tagline, my site icon, WordPress, address, blah, 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 membership, all this stuff. The stuff you really have to worry about are your site title, your tagline, and then your icon. So the site title is effectively what your site is, right? So if I wanted this to be Barry's WordPress site, that's what's going to change up here. And then when people search for you, that's going to be the name of the site that shows up. Tagline, typically you want to just put something in there that's related to your business. If you have a tagline, that's great. If not, maybe just come up with a few words that provides context to what you're doing, what your business or brand is. And then finally, site icon. So this is effectively your favicon, right? So up in your tab, you'll see this little icon that's related to your site. When you're searching for things, certain web browsers, you'll have the ability to show that icon. It's just another way to reinforce your brand visually. So even WordPress here tells you the site icon is what you see in browser tabs, bookmark bars, and within the WordPress mobile apps. It should be a square at least 512 by 512 pixels wide. So a square, basically. So when you're uploading that, keep that in mind, but try to find something that, if you don't have a logo, maybe come up with like a color or a letter or something that can match that, because you just want to reinforce that brand consistency. So yeah, so settings. All right. So one other thing we're going to talk about is the header and footer. So the header and footer of your website, pretty self-explanatory. Think about it in terms of like writing a paper, right? You have your header and you have your footer. The header is your nav bar. It's your logo. It's your menu icon. It's if you have a search bar on your site, any other tertiary links or anything like that, that's going to live in the header of the site. Then you have the footer, which is pretty much the opposite, right? You have copyright information, maybe there's contact information, maybe you have links to your social website. And these are universal elements of your website, meaning the header is always going to appear on every page in your WordPress site, and the footer will appear on every page. So some folks will say, well, I don't need social icons because I can put them on the contact page. You'll figure out what's best for you, but a common practice is to have all that stuff in the footer so that no matter where the user is on your website, they know exactly how to contact you or how to get in touch with your social and follow you. And we'll go over that a little bit more in depth as well. But how to edit them, you go to Appearance, and we go to Editor. All right. And then you'll see navigation here. Perfect. Yeah, so this is the design tab that we'll get into as we go. And you'll see already navigation, styles, pages, templates, patterns. This is all going to be stuff that we learn in the next lessons. And we'll go in depth on how to really kind of get into the nitty gritty and start moving things around and making it better and editing and managing your header and footer. And the beautiful thing about that is once you set them, they're set. So you can always go back and change them. But they're going to be consistent across all your WordPress pages. Oh, we have one more question. Let's see here. I accidentally published my website before finishing it. Can I unpublish it? Of course, yeah, we've all made that mistake. I make that mistake all the time. So really easy fix. Go to Pages. Go to Quick Edit down here. When you hover on a page name, you'll see this little list of quick actions. So edit, which is you go into the page and you start editing the I don't know why I'm looking over here. Editing the page, the structure of the page. Quick edit, you can trash a page or you can preview it. We're going to want to hit on Quick Edit rather. So if I go to, let's just do the front page for Quick Edit, then you'll get this little quick menu here. Status, that's what we want to go to. So status, published, pending review, or draft. We can go draft and just unpublish that page. And so that way it's taken off of the live link. Nobody can access it. You can make your changes and edits and then come back and publish it later. That's a great question. Yeah, that's a fantastic question. Okay. All right. Well, that kind of covers the first lesson. It's nice and quick. We're just kind of getting into the reviewing all the major components, all the little avenues we're going to explore in the next couple of lessons. So I know it can seem overwhelming. You don't need to know all of this stuff right now as we go into lesson 2 and then eventually lesson 3. I'm going to be going step by step. We're going to build a site together effectively. So don't get discouraged. Spend some time in your back end, kind of explore, play around with things, right? If your site isn't live right now and you're not conducting business, go ahead and just play around, see what you can come up with, and see what you learn. And then when we come back for lesson 2, we'll get into all of the nitty-gritty components. We'll start building out pages. We'll start managing our posts. I'll show you the media library and how to upload files and add alt tags and all that great stuff. So we're really excited about lesson 2, and I can't wait to see it. See you guys.